My name is Ruth. I'm original from El Salvador. I left El Salvador in 1981 due to the civil war, and the situation there was very chaotic. We went through persecution. I was back then 18 years old. My youngest brother was killed, and then my husband was also kidnapped and arrested. That kind of gave us the push to leave the country. Back in 1981, we stayed in Mexico, and in Mexico we got in contact with the sanctuary movement, and we had to meet people very generous in their hearts. They risked their life to help us to get here to the United States.
Hi, my name is Linda Dunn. There were refugees coming that needed a place to stay, needed a place to be safe. And the sanctuary movement was born. I have a book and an article that gives you a feel for what was going on in Guatemala and in El Salvador, with tens and hundreds of thousands of people being killed, and our government not willing to declare these people as refugees.
I traveled from Mexico, crossed the border, got to Nogales, Arizona, came to California, went to Eugene, Oregon. There I met the wonderful Quakers, and I got more into familiar with what the Quaker practice is. And because coming from Christian background, I understood that we didn't want any violence, and that we wanted to end the war. So for that moment, we realized the sanctuary movement was the key to approach the American community and tell them what the government was involved with. Reagan was the president, and the Congress was spending $1 million daily to kill my people. He at the same time gave us the legality to be here, and thanks to the amnesty law that the Congress passed in 1986, we were able to be legal and stay here. So now I can tell you that back then we touched a lot of doors. We went to community colleges, we went to universities, we went to TV stations, we went to different churches, Baptist churches, Presbyterians, Lutherans, Quakers, Unitarians.
In 1982, I was in graduate school at University of California in Riverside, and I was on the graduate school council, and several of us were involved in this sanctuary movement, and we said, let's get the University of California at Riverside to declare sanctuary. Now that meant that we would have on campus or nearby a person or persons who were in sanctuary under the care of some of us, who would give talks at the school campus and at classes, and would give talks in the community, which we organized and take place in public events. And we in the graduate school council decided it's better to ask forgiveness than permission. So we declared UCR campus a sanctuary, and no one said no. The campus newsletter came out in support, and George Brown's picture is in the campus newsletter as supporting this action that was copied throughout the UC system. He knew what we were doing. He was always there to hear about what we were doing and in support of it. And he was one of a very few.
The war killed in El Salvador about 75,000 people, and we lost a lot of lives. And I can tell you back then when I was I was a high school student, we couldn't study because we have helicopters, we have the militaries intervening in the streets. They will come and knock at the doors, and every single day on the streets of San Salvador, you can find those pictures that you see there on those magazines of dead bodies. So it was important that the United States got to do something and stop the war, but that war continued for 12 years until 92 when the peace agreements were signed. So when I'm going with this is that Mr. Brown, I didn't know him, but I think for what I know from my friends from the Quakers, I know that they had influenced Mr. Brown, or Mr. Brown influenced them, and he support that the United States will stop that military intervention there and will stop the war. So I believe that people like him was important, and he did a lot of contributions. So we had a better situation back then. So now the situation still have some refugees, different violence, and we still the need to help our people to have legality here, because it's about 11 million people in the United States that don't have legality, and it is important that the government intervene, and that's something because there are people that being deported, and the situation is no better. So it is important that the Congress and the American people know about this.